The boy who shared his lunch. Rafiq was a 12-year-old boy with a heart as warm as the morning sun in his quiet village. Every day he walked to school, his worn backpack light with books but heavy with a delicious lunch packed by his mother, Jahanara. His school was small, nestled amongst green fields, and everyone knew everyone. The laughter of children filled the air, and the scent of blooming jasmine often drifted through the open windows of the classrooms. Rafiq loved his school, and he loved his lunch. But one day, a new boy arrived. His name was Amir, and he was quiet, with eyes that seemed to hold a hint of sadness and a touch of uncertainty. During lunch break, while other children laughed and played, Amir would sit alone, often just watching, tucked away under a large mango tree. His small bag sometimes looked empty, and Rafiq noticed the way Amir's gaze would linger on other children's food, a subtle hunger in his eyes that made Rafiq's own stomach feel a little tight. He wondered about Amir's story, about why he seemed so alone. One sunny afternoon, as the lunch bell rang, signaling the most anticipated part of the school day, Rafiq eagerly opened his tiffin carrier. Inside were 2 fluffy parathas, still warm from the morning, a small bowl of fragrant chicken curry, and a sweet, ripe mango, perfectly sliced. His absolute favorite. He took a bite of the paratha, savoring the taste, but his eyes kept drifting to Amir, who was sitting under the large mango tree, slowly, almost reluctantly, unwrapping a single, small roti. There was no curry, no vegetable, no fruit, just the plain bread. Amir took tiny, careful bites, making it last as long as possible, as if each morsel was precious. Rafiq felt a pang in his chest. He knew what it felt like to be truly hungry, even if it was just for a short time before lunch. He thought about his mother, Jahanara, who always taught him to be generous and to share what he had. A small idea, warm and bright, began to grow in his mind, pushing aside his own hunger. He looked at his delicious curry, then at Amir's simple roti, and knew what he had to do. Taking a deep breath, a familiar flutter starting in his stomach, Rafiq carefully scooped a generous portion of his chicken curry into a small, clean container he always carried for leftovers. He also broke off a substantial piece of one of his fluffy parathas. His heart beat a little faster with a mix of nervousness and excitement. What if Amir didn't want it? What if he felt embarrassed, or thought Rafiq was pitying him? Pushing these worries aside, Rafiq stood up, clutching the container and paratha, and walked towards the mango tree where Amir sat. "Hi, Amir," he said softly, his voice a little shaky but determined, holding out the container. Amir looked up, startled, his eyes wide with surprise. He hadn't noticed Rafiq approaching, lost in his own quiet world. "My mother packed too much today," Rafiq continued, trying to sound casual, as if this was a common occurrence. "Would you like some curry and paratha?" Amir stared at the fragrant curry, its rich aroma filling the air, then at Rafiq's kind, earnest face. His stomach rumbled softly, betraying his hunger, but he hesitated, his hand trembling slightly, unsure how to react to this unexpected offer. Slowly, almost as if in a dream, Amir reached out and took the container and the paratha from Rafiq's outstretched hand. "Thank you," he whispered, his voice barely audible above the distant chatter of other children. He took a small bite of the paratha with the curry, and his eyes widened slightly, a spark of pure joy replacing the sadness. A small, grateful smile touched his lips, a smile that reached his eyes. Rafiq felt a warmth spread through him, a feeling far more satisfying than any delicious bite of food he had ever eaten himself. It was the warmth of giving, of seeing someone else's happiness. He sat down next to Amir under the shade of the mango tree, and they ate in comfortable silence for a few minutes. Amir finished the curry quickly, his hunger evident, but he savored every last bit. "It's really good," he said, a little louder this time, looking at Rafiq with genuine appreciation. Rafiq grinned. "My mother, Jahanara, makes the best curry," he replied, feeling a surge of pride for his mother's cooking and her lessons in kindness. They didn't talk much more that day, but a quiet understanding had been formed, a bridge built between them over shared food and a simple act of generosity. From that day on, sharing lunch became their daily routine, a cherished ritual. Rafik always made sure to pack a little extra, and Amir would eagerly await his arrival under the mango tree, a small smile already on his face. Their friendship blossomed, a quiet, steady growth, nurtured by shared meals and growing trust. They talked about their families, their dreams, and their favorite games. Rafik learned that Amir's family had recently moved to the village, and he was still finding his feet, feeling a little lost and lonely in the new school. Amir learned about Rafik's kind mother, Jahanara, and her amazing cooking secrets. But not everyone understood their bond. Jamil and Tariq, two boys known for their loud jokes and teasing, started to notice. Look at Rafik, sharing his food with the new boy. Jamil would call out, followed by Tariq snickering. Are you going to feed the whole village, Rafik? You'll run out of food yourself. They would taunt, their words sharp. Rafik felt a blush creep up his neck, but he never stopped. He knew it was the right thing to do, and Amir's grateful smiles were worth more than any mean words. One evening his mother, Jahanara, noticed his quietness at dinner. Is everything all right, my son? She asked gently, seeing the slight worry in his eyes. Rafik told her about Jamil and Tariq's teasing. Jahanara listened carefully, her hand resting on Rafik's shoulder, offering comfort and strength. My dear Rafik, she said, her voice full of love and wisdom, kindness is a strength, not a weakness. Don't let their words dim your light or stop you from doing what is right. True courage is in standing by your values, even when it's difficult. Her words filled Rafik with renewed determination. The next morning, when Rafik opened his lunch bag, he found not just his usual meal, but an extra paratha and a larger portion of curry, clearly meant for sharing. Jahanara smiled, her eyes twinkling. There's enough for two, my son, she said, her silent message of support speaking volumes. With his mother's unwavering encouragement, Rafik felt even stronger. The teasing from Jamil and Tariq continued, sometimes even louder, but Rafik simply ignored them. He would meet Amir under the mango tree, and they would share their lunch, their bond growing deeper with each shared meal and each act of courage. The food tasted even better knowing it was a gift of love and kindness, a silent rebellion against the unkind words. One morning, their teacher, Ms. Begum, a kind woman with a gentle smile and observant eyes, made an exciting announcement. Children, we are going to have a special school competition next month. The theme is the importance of kindness. You can present a story, a poem, a short play, or even a drawing. Work in pairs, and let's see how you can show what kindness truly means to you and to our community. The classroom buzzed with excitement, children whispering ideas to each other. Rafik immediately looked at Amir, who was already looking at him, a spark of understanding passing between them. They exchanged a knowing glance. This was their chance to show everyone, especially Jamil and Tariq, the true power of kindness. After class, Rafik approached Amir. Do you want to be my partner for the competition? He asked, his voice filled with hope. Amir's face lit up, a wide, joyful smile spreading across his face. Yes, I would love to, he replied, his eyes shining. They knew exactly what their story would be, their own. Over the next few weeks, Rafik and Amir spent every afternoon preparing for the competition. They met after school, under their mango tree, or at Rafik's house, where Jahanara would offer them sweet tea and biscuits. They decided to tell their own story, the story of how a simple act of sharing lunch had brought them together and transformed their lives. They wrote down their feelings, the initial shyness, the warmth of growing friendship, and the courage it took to stand up to teasing. Amir, who was usually quiet and reserved, found his voice when talking about how Rafik's consistent kindness had made him feel welcome, seen, and less lonely in a new place. Rafik spoke about his mother's wisdom and how her unwavering support had made him strong enough to ignore the taunts. They practiced their presentation diligently, making sure every word conveyed the true meaning of kindness, not just as an idea, but as an action. Even Jamil and Tariq, who initially scoffed and tried to make fun of their efforts, sometimes watched them from a distance, a flicker of curiosity, perhaps even a hint of respect in their eyes. Finally, the day of the competition arrived. The school hall was packed with students, teachers, and even some parents from the village, all eager to see the presentations. Rafiq and Amir stood on the small stage, a little nervous, their hearts thumping, but also filled with a quiet determination. Rafiq began, his voice clear and steady, telling the story of the new boy who sat alone and the simple act of offering a shared meal. Then Amir spoke, his voice gaining confidence with each word as he described the profound impact of that shared paratha and curry, how it had changed his world from lonely to full of warmth and friendship. They spoke about the teasing they faced, and how Rafiq, with his mother's encouragement, chose kindness over fear and continued to share. They spoke about Jahanara's wisdom and the strength it gave Rafiq to stand firm. Their story was honest, heartfelt, and incredibly powerful. The audience listened, captivated, a hush falling over the hall. You could hear a pin drop. Even Jamil and Tariq were listening intently, their usual sneers replaced by thoughtful, almost somber expressions, their eyes fixed on the stage. When Rafiq and Amir finished, there was a profound moment of silence, and then the hall erupted in thunderous applause, a wave of appreciation washing over them. Ms. Begum, with tears of pride in her eyes, stepped forward and announced them as the clear winners. "Rafiq and Amir," she said, her voice filled with emotion, "you have not only shown us the importance of kindness through your beautiful presentation, but you have lived it every day. Your story is an inspiration to us all, a powerful reminder of what a difference one small act can make." Jamil and Tariq, who were sitting in the front row, looked at each other, their faces no longer mocking but reflective and a little ashamed. After the competition, Jamil, surprisingly, approached Rafiq and Amir. "That was a really good story," he mumbled, looking at his feet, his voice softer than they had ever heard it. We were wrong to tease you. We're sorry. It was a small apology, but it meant the world to Rafiq and Amir." The other students, visibly inspired by their story, started to treat each other with more consideration and empathy. A quiet shift happening in the school's atmosphere. Soon, the story of Rafiq and Amir and their winning presentation spread like wildfire beyond the school walls. The entire village began to talk about the importance of kindness and how two young boys had shown them its true meaning. People started to engage in small acts of generosity, inspired by the boys' example, sharing fresh vegetables from their gardens with neighbors, helping an elderly person with chores, or simply offering a kind word and a smile to someone who looked down. The school itself became a warmer, more inclusive place, a hub of genuine connection. Years passed, and Rafiq and Amir remained the best of friends, their bond unbreakable. They went through school together, always supporting each other, always remembering the day a shared lunch had started it all. Their story became a cherished legend in the village, told to younger children as an example of sharing, courage, and the lasting power of kindness. It reminded everyone that even the smallest act, like sharing an apple or a piece of paratha, could blossom into something magnificent and far-reaching. It could build bridges between people who seemed different, turn strangers into the closest of friends, and transform a whole community into a place of warmth and understanding. All it took was one kind heart, one brave boy willing to share, and a simple, delicious lunch to start a wave of positive change that lasted for generations.